Hey everyone, this is the LEGO Star Wars Yoda. They just call it Yoda. It is a large statue form buildable figure in roughly 1/2 scale. That's a pretty large scale for anything, but fortunately for LEGO and for us builders, Yoda's pretty small. So the finished figure just up to the top of his head is about 1 foot tall, or about 30 centimeters, comparing it to a large action figure. It's not that much taller than one of those, but comparing it to a minifigure kind of brings things into context, I think, a little bit better. This has over 1,700 pieces in it, making it a very complex build. And you know what? It is fully built up all the way around. It has a hollow core, but you know what? This was a very enjoyable build for me. It has an interesting set of design choices that were made for it, but for the most part, most of what you actually put together uses just the most traditional of Lego building techniques. All of the robes, basically all of the body, is done with bricks and plates on top of bricks and plates. It felt very cathartic putting this together in the best way, in the most healthy way, just putting pieces on top of pieces. Ultimately, you can see that there are large assemblies that are attached onto the side and the front and the side and the back. And, those use studs on the side construction for very, very large assemblies, but they are very large assemblies that just get tacked on to a very, very simple Technic frame that's inside of this. Super simple. Not a lot of stuff gets locked together. It just has little pins or studded pins around the outside of it, and you just press these large plate-based assemblies onto it. There's very little that you can do with this set. It's mostly here just to look at it. We'll take a look at the smaller stuff a little bit later on. First, I'm going to focus on the big statue, of course. If you're a Lego lover who hates Lego studs, you're going to hate this set, because all of these studs are covering the outside of all the fabric surface intentionally. This is part of the designer's intent to bring in some of the rough fabric texture, or the suggestion of that texture, while also avoiding turning this into a 3,000 piece set to try to smooth all that out. It would have been ridiculous. Again, I really enjoyed putting this together. It felt good. It felt like just classic Lego, but in the best way. It's not simple by any means. The assembly process is pretty simple, but the build has so much depth. I mean, you can see even the hood back here has depth inside of it. There's actually a pocket back there. This whole thing has very organic shaping all around it. And then the skin, anywhere that skin is shown for Yoda himself, they switched over, the designer switched over to a smooth surface. So trying to hide studs there to create this contrast, which I really appreciate. So here you can see the hands have a minimum number of studs that are exposed. These are slightly posable. You can technically take the lightsaber out of his hands, but it's really designed just to have enough posability to let you put the fingers around the hilt in a semi-realistic way. That's really all that's being done there. And you're not going to move the arms around or anything, because this is all pretty solid over here. Again, depth. Look at how much depth there is going inside the sleeve there. It's really well done. I know this thing has gotten a lot of hate for what I'm about to get to, what I'm about to show you, or maybe not even hate, but just people being really creeped out by it. And that I can completely understand it. But after building this, I'll tell you, I like the whole thing way better than I expected to. I feel like I've gained a little bit of bias from the build process being as nice as it is. There's a little gap there. Not everything is absolutely perfect when this comes together because of the construction of how things are attached to the Technic frame, but it is pretty good. So the head, I think overall the shaping of the head is very good. I really like what they did for the nose. That's just absolutely perfect there to get the nostrils in. But it's the eyes that have creeped out pretty much everybody on the internet by now. Because, I mean, look at them. There's so much space. It looks like I may actually have a little bit of a gap over on this side that's not intended. Ah, there we go. That was bugging me right there. Okay, much better. But it's the eye sockets, the ocular cavities, the space all around there that is awkward. The reason for that is that these eyes are 3D and you can pose. Look at that. And how much expressiveness you can get out of this. You can pose the eyelids. The bottom ones don't have quite as much range of motion, but you can move them around a bit. You know, that you can really change his appearance. So on the main images that they've shown for this, they've put him in this very angry looking appearance, you know, as he's about to stand up to Palpatine, or you could say, you know, he's gonna stand up to Dooku, whichever you prefer. But you know, he was trying to look angry, and it's successful at that. But it's all the space around there that is definitely awkward, and just how dark this space is, because there is so much depth there. It casts shadows all around there. If shadows were not cast, you'd actually see some stuff behind there around the sides that you wouldn't want to see, some different colors that are back in there. But most of that is just shaded away, and I have pretty strong lighting in here. I'm surprised that it's actually still as dark as it is. So yeah, the eyes are at the very least polarizing, but after having built this, I like the entire thing. Again, much better than I expected to, but I wouldn't mind having some of this space covered up. Fortunately, it looks like it would be fairly easy to modify this to just bring in a little bit of extra coverage, at least right from this level. Just come right in from there, cover up some of that gap. I think that would help so much. I'm sure the designer tried some of that, did a bunch of experimentation. Surely weeks and months of work went into this, because as simple as it is to assemble it, coming up with the strategies to create all of these shapes and making it all work together in a way that anybody can build just following instructions, certainly was quite a bit of work, quite a task, or a set of tasks to design it in the first place, come up with the different iterations, and then to create a version that can actually be built sequentially by instructions. The hair back here, I think, is one of the best things on the entire model. Just my opinion. It looks exceptionally good from around the side. The side right here is a little bit flat, but beyond that, it's pretty good. You do see that little bit of blue, but we are looking at this pretty close right now to normal eyes from any normal distance. That doesn't stand out to that degree. It's not like the Blue Technic pin problem or anything like that. Not by any means. There's what it looks like from a higher angle, which is probably going to be a more common angle of view, given that, you know, this will most likely be displayed on shelves and on tables and desks and things. So a lot of people will be seeing it from here. You want to see this from different angles to really appreciate it. And yeah, the size is actually pretty substantial. It has a decent amount of weight, but you can tell that it is hollow when you pick it up. You can tell that it is empty in there. Let's see if we can see some of that from the underside. Yeah, there we go. That's perfect. I actually have not looked at it from the underside before just now. Tiny little gap right there, but that is the Technic frame. It uses these box-shaped parts and just a handful of them, and just creates the simplest of box frames inside of there. And then you just attach plates on top of that. These feet have a tiny bit of range of motion, or you can move them from side to side. You can also slightly pose the toes in or out. So if you want to bring those together a little bit closer, if that makes you feel better, that works. And the hands only have posability in the fingers. They are otherwise static in position. I already showed you what you can do with the eyes, but you can also move the head very slightly. You can slightly turn to one side, to the other side. There's a little bit of wobble in there. You can kind of shift. I think if it's this, yeah, if it's here, you can shift the head from side to side a little bit. If it's turned this way, you can shift it forward to back. It's mostly right there. So it's mostly just a little bit of turning that you can do, which is good, you know, to make it look a little bit more alive. I think it's good to turn the head this way a bit. I'm going to take a little bit of that anger out, since so many of us have seen that angry look so much. Make him look maybe a little bit more suspicious of things by bringing up that inner lid. Nah, just kind of normal. But that's it. It's just a big Yoda statue. This lightsaber is built around the longest of Technic axles that I think they've ever made, and it's in white. That was nice to see. They didn't just stick a black one in there, so it's in white, so it doesn't dim down the core of this. These are just bricks, and then you have that one dome up at the top. And this is all transparent, bright green. The hilt is built up. Let me go ahead and see if I can pull this out safely, just as you can see how the saber is built. Hopefully, there we go. Yep. It has the activation button on it and everything. And you could kind of wield this. It's not, I guess it's durable enough. This part kind of wants to come apart in the center, but you can kind of wield it, as a human, as a huge figure, right? But that's pretty much it for, the main thing. Let's go ahead and look at the little side stuff real quick. So this is a name and stats placard, which also doubles as a figure stand. And, it's in the style of an Ultimate Collector's Series plaque, but it's not an Ultimate Collector's Series set, nor, interestingly, is it officially referred to anywhere I've seen as a Master Builder Series set. They came up with the concept of Master Builder Series for Ultimate Collector's Series sets that they fear would offend Ultimate Collector's Series set collectors because they're too fun, too focused on being toys, as Lego tends to be usually. So it's just a set, and it comes with a plaque, which is cool. If you want that, you can display the set with it. You can display it with your Ultimate Collector's Series sets if you want, or if you don't, then you can just forget about it entirely. I, for one, am happy to not have to put up with the endless cyclic debates over what is UCS and what is not UCS, what deserves the title. At least this time, it's just a set, which is good. It's nice to see. So this is the little Yoda figure that comes with the set, and it's similar, especially around the back, but it's not the same. So different color scheme for the skin tone and also the robe underneath, the inner shirt. So they went with dark tan for the inner shirt here, but the actual build uses brown. So that's different. But the bigger difference is the skin tone. This uses olive, which I thought looked pretty good on little minifig Yoda. But the full-size build is sand green for its skin tone, which also looks okay, but it's just awkward that they are different, Kind of feels like they ought to be matched. And I know exactly why this happened, because this is the better color right here between the two. But Lego just doesn't make enough different parts in olive, and they would have had to make so many more in olive to make this full-size set, the full-size build, that it just wasn't worth it. So the designer had to compromise. One thing that I question about this minifigure is the inclusion of the full-length lightsaber blade. I kind of feel like just the shorter one. So this is the four modulus long version. I think that 3 long works with him, but then it does make the hilt look extra large because they don't have a small hilt to go with the small figure. I like Yoda though, and I like Yoda in Lego form. Even though there is an inconsistency, I like the minifigure as well as the full-sized build. All right, over 1,700 pieces, closer to 1,800 pieces for $100 US. Well, that seems like a fantastic price-to-part ratio. And it is, but this does have a lot of very small pieces, a lot of 1x1s, and a lot of 1x2s. Plates at that. At the end of the day, to me, for the amount of stuff that you get here, I do feel like this is worth the $100 relative to other Lego stuff. I feel like this is a pretty good deal as Lego goes. You compare the size of this to a $100 Lego architecture set, the volume of it in total. Maybe not the height. Maybe you can get taller for $100. but that depth, uh, I don't know. I don't think you're going to beat this in value for the amount of stuff that you get for this price range. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. And again, yeah, I know I've said it at least several times now. I'm going to say it again. I really enjoyed the build of this. It's just so classic and just so straightforward. You can just get in the zone and just put pieces together. It does require some level of focus. You know, you can't do it completely mindlessly, but you can definitely get in the zone and just enjoy putting studded Lego pieces on top of other studded Lego pieces. And ultimately you create these sub-assemblies. You put 2 or 3 major sub-assemblies together to create one whole side, and then you just fit it onto that frame. You know, the first one goes on, it's like, okay, that's a start. And then you put the next one on, it fits in at a 90-degree angle, and all the gaps, everything just fits together like a 3D puzzle piece or a pair of 3D puzzle pieces. And it feels good. It feels like a good Lego build. That's what I like about it most. I too, like most of the rest of the world, like the gaps around the eyes least. I feel like some of that is a little bit fixable. Not sure if I have the parts to experiment with it, but I'm definitely going to keep this set together. I definitely like the look of this better than their old statue version of Yoda, which was a good attempt for its day, to be sure, and for the amount of parts that were available, the types of parts that were available then. But if I could only choose one between the old and the new, I would definitely take the new and think about modifying the sides of the eyes. Cool to get another little Yoda as well. Strange that the skin tones don't match up. Not so bothered by the robes. Let me know what you think about this. Hope you enjoyed this look at this different set. Not the usual type of thing that I tend to review, but definitely something that I appreciate and look forward to hanging on to for a while. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.